Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, Arwin, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
Very well indeed. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. So we're joined by a globe believer we'll get into our discussions with after the housekeeping questions, but I'd encourage you to join in if you can. Tom. Ready?
How's it going, Nathan? How are you?
Very well, but we're going to do a bit of housekeeping. Are you familiar with this section of the show?
Yeah, I heard it last time, so do your thing.
Excellent stuff. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
No, Nathan, we're going to need a radius for that, and they don't have that.
What do you mean they don't have that?
Well, curvature is the horizon Earth curve. They can't even answer that question anymore.
What do you reckon, Tom? Earth curve? Pretty fundamental part of believing you're on a sphere.
Yes.
Can you show it us? Oh, has my computer crashed? What's going on?
He's looking up a picture.
Oh, pictures.
Okay.
We love pictures.
I don't want to assume that's what he's doing. Maybe he didn't hear me.
Yeah, if you asked me something, I didn't hear you. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Can you show us Earth curve?
Could I show you? Well, this is something I wanted to talk about, is kind of the epistemology behind it, because, I can give you things that I think show it, and my guess is you'll say that it's not legitimate. It might be fake photos, things like that. I kind of wanted to talk about the background first.
Let's start with that. No, that's cool. Why would we say... Why?
Yeah,
don't assume... I've just said I don't want to assume that you would do something. Let's not do the same in my direction. So let's not assume I'm just going to say it's fake. What have you got?
So what I would show you is if you just go online, Google photos or videos of Earth or Earth's curve, and, you'll see... And you've probably been shown these many a time, where it'll be photos from, NASA or people that send balloons up with a video, and take videos of these things. So, if I go online and search for some photos and videos, I can find quite a few. I know that NASA has said some of these will be photoshopped to, try to make them more clear and whatnot. And I understand that many people in the flat Earth community will assert that some might be CGI, some are photoshopped.
Some of what? You haven't told us what you're showing us, though, Tom. You've just said look up photos online from NASA. You should have told us the source, and you've told us where we can find these sources. But you haven't told us what the pictures are of. What are the pictures of?
Oh, yeah. So they'll be either of the full globe, or they will be of a portion of the globe that very much appears to be curved. And, just things like that.
Can you describe that to me? Portion of a globe that appears to be curved. What describe that to me. What's that look like?
Yeah, so like you could check out the live stream, for example, of the International Space Station. which would have a very apparent curve when you look at the live stream. You would see the part of the globe that's in frame, and it would be curved.
And what is that? What is it? A limitation of something? Is it something meeting something else? What does it look like?
What does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a sphere, like part of a large sphere.
What bit of it? You're not filling me in. I'm asking for Earth curve. What does that look like? In a picture, describe it to me.
So I'm doing my best to describe. Maybe you could imagine getting a tennis ball and putting your cell phone camera very close up to a portion of it. That's about how it would look.
I see. So the geometric limitation to my view would create a high horizon line at the tennis ball. So it'd be the horizon then. The horizon formed by the tennis ball at its geometric limitations.
I'm not sure what you're saying with the geometric limitations, but yeah, it would look like a curved horizon
really?
line.
You told me to hold up a tennis ball. Do you not understand that tennis ball, when you're describing Earth curve as being comparable, would be the geometric limitation to your view caused by the tennis ball? That's what you're describing to me. I don't know why you'd say you don't understand me explaining it back to you. It was what you told me.
Yeah, that works.
That was me clarifying what you said. It's not me suggesting it. It's me clarifying what you've just said. So the geometric limitation to your view on a tennis ball is what you say is comparable to the horizon presented from the International Space Station when they show you a quarter-edge horizon of the globe, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, Tom. The horizon's not Earth curve. Now, all of the pictures that you describe that have come from NASA, from space, they're being taken from an area that doesn't exist. You see, if that area claimed to be space, that would be a vacuum, was real, then the gas you are currently breathing in and out would fill that availability of volume, as per the second law of thermodynamics. Are you aware of the second law of thermodynamics?
I believe that's entropy, correct?
Yeah, entropy. So you are aware of entropy increase, gas filling space. Gas fills space, right? You're aware of that effect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So space would be a space, Tom. Gas would fill it then, Tom. So we'd all be dead, Tom, if they had images from a sky vacuum, because the gas we're breathing, would be filling that area of space. It's called entropy. Gas fills space, and they're saying these pictures come from a place called space. A vacuum for the gas we breathe to fill, Tom.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So this is why I was hoping we could take a step back and talk about our approaches to,
you don't need to do anything, Tom. Okay. We quizzed you on what you thought was Earth curve. Now I'm basically ripping that to pieces. Yeah, methodically, slowly, one step at a time, one section of your belief at a time. First section of your belief so far, hopefully without interruption while I rip apart your complete nonsense that you believe in, won't be riddled with you talking through me. Just pop yourself on mute, listen up while I dissect what you've just told us, Tom. Is that okay by you?
Yep.
Excellent stuff. So you think there's a place that you can take photographs from, somewhere you've never been and will never encounter in your entire lifetime, that is in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy increase would dictate that if the sky was a vacuum to take pictures of Earth from, then the gas we breathe would fill that space. Ergo, all pictures from the violation of natural law known as outer space are automatically fake, akin to taking pictures from a place called Narnia. You can't go to Narnia, it isn't real. Likewise, you can't go to space, it isn't real. It violates natural law. We need to have containment to have gas pressure here, and a claim of a sky not containing gas but being an area for it to fill makes it automatically fake. That discounts all of those pictures from NASA and the International Space Station because they're claimed to be in an orbit in space, which they are not. Now, further to that, any other pictures that you might have named from high altitude balloons would also involve a curving horizon, akin to, according to you, the geometric limitation on a tennis ball. Now, our horizon is not geometric. Like your tennis ball example, we have debunked that. If the Earth was a sphere, like a tennis ball, but with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to the geometric limitation, like on your tennis ball, that would be the horizon, would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the globe Earth mathematics that states exactly that. Now, we have imagery that shows the horizon beyond those geometric limitations if Earth was like a tennis ball. Ergo, the horizon is not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere. If it was, we'd have a geometric limitation like on a tennis ball at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and we don't. So the horizon, Tom, is an Earth curve. Further to that, your own side in debate will tell us that. Would you like a few quotes from your own side about how non-geometric the horizon is, Tom? Just in case you think it's me making it up.
Yeah.
Sure. Quote, the rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. End quote. Plan a walk. We wouldn't expect to see physical geometry, like a tennis ball. End quote. AB science. We're not expecting to see the geometric horizon. End quote. Like on your tennis ball, Tom. So your own side's making it abundantly clear that we're not going to see the geometry like on a tennis ball. That can't be seen. It only exists in the maths. Horizon's not Earth curve. I'm done, Tom. Feel free to respond.
Okay. Gotcha. So I'm wondering kind of the approach you take from an epistemological perspective for a question like this. When I've spoken to flat earthers, typically we'll start on similar, we'll say similar things, like we'll try to use scientific method, logic, what have you. The one major difference I've noticed is that a lot of people in the flat earth community will say that unless you're doing an experiment or observation yourself, you can't really rely on what other people are telling you. So I was just kind of wondering the approach you take.
So, an experimental observation. What do you think that is? You've already had your incorrect assertions about what you believe science is, and a vague understanding. Where we got to in the pre-show was your understanding that it's a way of ascertaining information and knowledge about the natural world. You also explained that you'd observe a phenomena, propose a cause of that phenomena, and then vary it to see if it causes it, while simultaneously peppering it with the idea that a model would do the same thing. You dropped that in. We didn't quite round out how you think the model is employed. So, given that you're now saying that in order to acquire this as a claim, I would have to acquire scientific evidence of this logical deduction. Modus tollens. It's a logical deduction. If P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P.
Okay, so to the specific epistemological framework I mentioned, where a lot of people in the flat earth community will not be persuaded if I rely on what other people have said, particularly mainstream scientists and whatnot. Do you have a similar view, or do you think we can rely on things other people have purported to observe and experiment and calculate and such?
You don't know what an experiment is. You think it doesn't prove things. We've already established that in the pre-show. So if I explain the logic behind the scientific method, will you yield to the notion that it does prove things? If you will bear with me to give you that explanation.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm certainly happy to listen to any of the semantics you want to talk about. What I was saying, for anyone that wasn't in the pre-show, is that there's different uses of that word prove. So in law, we don't mean beyond all doubt. We have burdens of proof. In a civil case, it's more likely than not. In a criminal case, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And that means there's going to be a possibility the defendant might not be liable or might not be guilty. But that's, not...
Well, that's not science, that's law. Sure, that's law.
So,
this is science.
So science is the same. science is the same in that sense.
No, it isn't. No, it's not. It's
okay.
empirical. That's wrong. If you'll beg, I'll beg you, if you can beg my indulgence, I want to tell you why it's empirical, based on the logic employed in a hypothesis. Now, you've used that word so far. First, I'm going to ask you, as you've used that word, do you know what a hypothesis is?
Yeah, it would be a falsifiable explanation for a set of phenomena.
Hey, and what's the structure?
What do you mean by that?
The structure. What's the process? How do you describe the process of construction of a hypothesis?
I mean, it depends what you're talking about. I feel like it could just be, you see some things happening that seem connected, and you say, I think that's why those things happen.
I see. So if A, then B.
If A, then B. I don't think that's what I said. Maybe it is.
You said you see something happening, and you say, I think that will cause it.
Or, yeah, you propose a
So
cause.
if A...
I think that's why that's
So
happening.
if A, then B. The phenomena being B, your presumed cause being A.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it is, I assure you. So, there's also a null. Ever heard of a null?
A no? Like N-O?
Null. N-U-L-L.
I don't think so, no.
Never heard of a null? All right. Surprising that you would think science doesn't prove things, and yet you've never heard of a null. The thing that offers science...
Like a null hypothesis.
My bad, middle of a sentence, my bad. Showing how stupid you are when it comes to your understanding of science, and you think you need to talk to me. Of course you do. No, you don't. You don't know what science is. You thought it didn't prove things, and you don't know what a null is. Shocking. If you did, you'd realise how stupid you were for saying it doesn't prove things. Maybe you'd like to type into your Google and look up what a null is. Off you go.
Having no legal or binding force. Invalid.
All right.
A zero.
So invalid. All right. So what do you think a null is in a hypothesis then?
Seems like it would be an invalid hypothesis.
No, it would be the antithesis of your presumed cause of the effect. So whereas if A then B would be you assume the cause and get it correct, you also have something called a null. If A, not B. Now, if you have both of these sides of a hypothesis, that would be your alternative, if A then B, and your null, if A not B, both formulated alongside one another, and you vary A to see if it causes B, can both A causing B and A not causing B be simultaneously true?
Could you say that again?
If you vary that which you assume causes an effect, that would be vary A to see if it causes B, can it both cause B and not cause B at the same time? Can it both be the cause and not be the cause at the same time? Is that possible? Does it sound like a violation of the law of non-contradiction to you?
Well, with God, all things are possible, but yeah, it sounds like that would be impossible.
So you can't both cause something and not cause something at the same time, then?
That sounds correct.
So, therefore, upon experimentation, that would be actualization of a hypothesis. That would be you vary A to see if it causes B. Would you say that either one or other of those two positions, that would be A causing B and A not causing B, will be, listen closely, proven?
Yeah, exactly. And that's
So science does prove things then. So you would definitely assert that we can prove things then. This is proving either one or the other. Can't simultaneously both not be true or both be true. Therefore, one or other will be proven to be true then.
So as I was explaining...
So you haven't affirmed, my friend. I'll just say it slowly, with you listening, not speaking through me, and then at the end you saying, yes, Nathan, I understand how stupid I was to say science doesn't prove things, when at the end of actualization of a hypothesis, you can only prove something, Tom. Do you understand that now?
So as I was saying before...
Is that a yes, Tom? And not as you were saying, as I was saying, Tom, you stupid idiot. Science proves things. At the end of hypothesis actualization, you can only prove one of those statements true. It's the only outcome. You can only prove things when you actualise a hypothesis, Tom. Yet to just say yes, science absolutely, unequivocally, and only proves things. That's its primary purpose, Tom. You were just misunderstanding what science is because you didn't know what it was.
So if you're saying that it proves things beyond...
Yeah, it does. We just established that. It's not an if statement anymore, Dumbo. We've just established that, Tom. You just yet to clarify that you understand and appreciate that it absolutely proves things. Not if.
So I'm discerning a flaw in your reasoning there. Because
oh, really?
What you're doing is basing this on empirical observation. This would assume that there's an external world. The external world is
I am not basing it on empirical observation. That is not what I stated.
Okay.
Tom, I'll try once more while you try and segue away from your own stupidity and incorrect assertion that science doesn't prove things. Yes, it does. At the end of actualisation of a hypothesis, you can only prove one side or other of the hypothesis true. If you prove A causes B, you discount the null. If you prove A doesn't cause B, you discount the alternative. In other words, only one or other can and must be proven at the end of the process, Tom. That's what science does. It proves things, Tom. You were just wrong. Yet to affirm this still, Tom.
I did affirm it actually multiple times.
Oh, so science does prove things. Tom, you just need to say, yes, Nathan. Yes, Nathan. I was incorrect when I said science doesn't prove things. It does.
So if I had said that, I would be incorrect, of course, because, as I said, it depends.
You damn skippy you were. Yes, you did. Yes, we did record it, Tom. Not if. Tom. Every time you pepper your incorrect assertion with if. If I said that, yes, you did, Tom. That's why I'm getting more and more short with you. So you weaseling away from your own ignorance and stupidity about science isn't going to get tolerated here. I will just hold you indefinitely till you have a little bit of humility and understand and appreciate how fucking wrong you were about science. Now, you're starting to piss me off. It's been 6 times. I just need you to say, with a little smile and a little bit of dignity, yes, Nathan, I understand now when I said science doesn't prove things, how wrong I was. It can only prove things. That's its purpose. And having had it explained to me, I now understand that. Do you or don't you?
Do you remember my legal...
I don't need a jogging of my memory, Tom. I need you to affirm that you understand how wrong you were about science not proving things. Do you understand or not?
I cannot affirm.
Oh, so you think that at the end of if A... then B, or if A not B, you can not prove something at the end of that process. Pray tell how the violation of the law of non-contradiction built within a hypothesis is capable of not proving something, Tom. Go right ahead.
Proof in science and in law is inductive. Proof in math is not.
We're not talking about math.
Right. So, again, that's what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, why are you laughing, Tom? You're still yet to affirm how wrong you were about science not proving things. You were wrong.
Right, and I won't affirm that because that's not what I was saying.
Sorry, we've got it recorded, on record, recorded and broadcast, Tom. Yes, you did. You made it explicitly clear after I led you that you didn't think science proved things.
I'm very glad we have this recorded for that exact reason.
Yeah, you made it explicitly clear that it did not prove things. It lended weight with bodies of evidence, but could be open to be changed at any time. You made that explicitly clear.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
No, it isn't, Tom. Science proves things. You can either prove if A causes B, or A not causes B. If you didn't, it would violate the law of non-contradiction. That's 7 times.
So what we're doing is inferring from our senses.
No, we're proving, Tom. It's proving things, not inferring that A causes B. You vary it, and if it causes it, it causes it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You're not inferring anything, you're proving it.
Have you seen the film...
Why are you asking me something, Tom, when you're still, after 8 attempts, yet to concede your own idiocy and ignorance regarding science, and its inability to prove things according to you, having been recorded making that plain?
So the reason I'm trying to ask questions and things like that is...
You don't need to ask questions, Tom. You're not in the control seat. You're not your little lawyer position asking judge and jury questions. What you are doing is being told by a flat earther that you don't understand science.
So we typically don't ask the judge or jury questions.
I don't give a fuck about your law shite. This is science that you don't understand.
So
you don't understand science, and the 9th attempt of me getting you to concede that when you declared that it's open to change at a later date, you were wrong.
So I don't believe I was wrong about that.
Yeah, you fucking were. You're just thick. If you think that something that would violate the law of non-contradiction can be shown to not be proving things at the end of the process, I've asked you to go ahead and show me how that violation of the law of non-contradiction can take place.
Would you be willing to let me explain? Yeah? Hello?
What part of feel free to explain how you can get around this violation of the law of non-contradiction built within a hypothesis? You say, if you'll allow me to explain, and then ask if anybody else is talking. Yeah, go ahead!
Nathan, I believe you cut out. I think that was all that happened there. Oh,
really? Well, listen up. Get the hell on with it. Explain how you can not prove something at the end of hypothesis actualization, Mr. I know all about science.
So I certainly don't know all about science, just to qualify.
Yeah, no shit! You're being schooled by me!
Yeah,
so you don't know anything about science, you thought it didn't prove things. And after 10 attempts of getting you to concede that when you said it was open to change at the end of the process, you're still yet to concede, you're saying, no, I don't think I was wrong, you bloody weasel.
So for any listeners interested in hearing my position...
Nobody's interested in hearing anything other than you concede that you were wrong about science not proving things, and when that's all it can do.
Well, it's possible my mother will listen to this eventually. She'll be...
Nobody gives two shits about your fucking mother. All we care after 11 attempts of you having been recorded making it plain that science is open to change after the process. You were wrong. It would violate the law of non-contradiction if that was the case. Hypothesis has empiricism built within as by virtue of the null.
Giovanna's great, by the way. But, okay, so what I was saying was, the word prove is used differently in different contexts.
We clarified what proof meant in the pre-show. You don't need to babble on about what proof is. We already clarified it with you.
Okay.
So why are you being such a weasel? All you need to do after 12 attempts is say, yes, I understand. When I claimed that science would be open to change after the fact. No. If you vary something and it doesn't cause something, it doesn't matter how many times you vary it thereafter, it will never cause it. Therefore, you have proven the null. That is proof. That will never change. You were just wrong when you thought it would change. When you thought it changed after the fact, you were wrong, Tom. And this is now 13 times with a slimy, greasy lawyer saying he doesn't concede that he's wrong when he's wrong. You didn't know what science is. You're more than happy to talk through me right now and declare that you don't know what science is. We do. And until you concede how ignorant you are about it not proving things, being capable of change after the fact, we're not going anywhere, Tom, until you concede that, you slimy little lawyer.
Yeah, so if you're willing to let me explain my position, I'll be happy to do that. So what I was saying was, it is completely common parlance to say science prove X, or we prove this in our case, and that's inductive. So what that means is we're using empirical observation that relies on the senses. That is not the same as knowing something absolutely. And that's why I asked if you had ever seen The Matrix, right? Because
sorry, I don't give a shit about The Matrix. We're talking about science and about how you don't know what it is. You think I need a segue onto science? Or about how law defines something? We're talking about science, something you know nothing about. You've used the words, you've got a vague idea about what it is, but you also think it doesn't prove things. You made that absolutely plain. This is now 14 attempts for you, Tom, to concede that you are incorrect when you claim it doesn't prove things. You are wrong. For that to be true, it would violate the law of non-contradiction built into a hypothesis. That's 14 times, you little weasel.
To be clear, I keep saying it does prove things under...
Right. So, Tom, given that it does prove things, that would be science, why on unholy hell would you tell us that it's open to change after the fact?
Because it is. Because
No, if it's proven something, Tom, it's proven. It's not open to interpretation after the fact. It's proven. That's what proof means.
So keep in mind that anytime we are doing empirical research, we are relying on our senses as humans to do that.
No, we are not. We are implying anything. Nothing is being implied when we do experimentation. It is empirical by virtue of actualization of a hypothesis. You are wrong. Why are you still banging this crappy drum?
Okay, so could you give an example of an experiment?
Water boiling at 100 degrees at sea level. Cause heat. Natural phenomena, dV, that would be water boiling. Independent variable, that would be heat. So if heat, water boiling. If heat, not water boiling, being the null. You invalidate the null when you get it to boil. Now, no amount of times after that fact, that scientifically validated fact, will water not boil if you heat it. It's proven!
Are you familiar with...
Are you familiar with proof? Because it seems every time I show how stupid you are when you claim that things aren't proven with science. Oh, really? So we still have scurvy, do we, dipshit? You think that's not been proven? Lack of vitamin C? Proven with science, mate. You still think we've got scurvy, do you, Dumbo? You think that's going to change? Somehow lack of vitamin C won't be the cause because it's open to change?
Black swan is what I was...
Excuse me. You still aren't past the fact that you don't know what science is and you want to move to the black swan. No, we've already done that. We've done Earth curve. Yeah, and you've told us that we need science for this logical consistency. And I'm pointing out you don't know what science is to ask me to give it you for the black swan. You haven't got a clue what it is.
Not the photo.
You don't know what it is. You think it's open to change after the fact. So, I have then given you 2 experiments. One of which was vitamin C, cause of an effect. That would be scurvy, lack thereof, causes it. Proven with science. Do you think that's going to change sometime soon?
Do I think it will? No.
Yeah, well, you've just told us you think it'll open to change after the fact that science is, in fact, open to change, that you're not going to concede after 15 attempts for you to just concede that when you said it was open to change, you were wrong, and it only proves things.
Those are 2 different things. Saying
What, being provable and not open to change?
whether it's open to change... and
It isn't if it's proven. You just won't concede that because you're a slime ball.
So I don't think that we will soon find that vitamin C has nothing to do with scurvy.
Well, it's been proven by science, empirically, with experimentation. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident in that too, given that science proves things.
Yeah, so it's...
Yeah! So, your high-pitched little yeah is the thing I've been asking for 16 times.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, it has. I know what I've been asking for 16 times. The concession that when you claimed science is open to change after the fact, because you're a moron, that you were in fact wrong, that it has empiricism by way of a null.
So do you agree with...
So do you think I need a question, you slimy little shit that's taken 17 attempts to concede how wrong he was about his ignorance in science?
Still haven't conceded, by the way.
Yeah, I know you haven't, you slimy little shit.
If somebody says...
Yeah, laugh it up, slime ball. Yeah, scurvy ain't going to change anytime soon. The cause has been established with science, as has the cause of water boiling. Yeah, these things are proven. They were established with nulls, an alternative hypothesis, so as to not violate the law of contradiction when they were put through the process. Yeah, they proved those things, Tom. You still think they're open to change, do you, Dumbo?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you're a Dumbo.
Well, obviously. Yeah.
Yes, you are indeed obviously a Dumbo, Tom. That's why I'm getting very frustrated and angry with you. You're thick.
It's ironic. It's one of my least favorite Disney movies. Keep going.
Sorry, you think we need to talk about Disney? No, we're talking about your ignorance when it comes to science, Tom. You're very, very difficult to talk to. Because even when you're proven wrong and demonstrated wrong, given examples of how you were wrong, with experimentation that ain't changing anytime soon, because it's been proven by way of hypothesis actualization with its empiricism and ability to prove things, something that you thought was open to change at a later date because you're ignorant, Tom.
Would you be willing to listen to an example where maybe...
Would you be willing to concede when you're wrong, Tom? Because that's clearly never going to happen, is it?
Will I concede?
Will you stutter around the fact that you're wrong and you're being asked 18 times by a flat earther to concede your ignorance in science, which absolutely unequivocally proves things, Tom? Yeah, we'll stick here indefinitely, mate, while you ask me if I need to be asked questions. Well, we're focusing on your ignorance of science.
I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong. I'm not wrong on the point you are talking about. But maybe I can explain why if you give me a bit. And you may have cut out again, but I'll just start talking. Hopefully I'm not talking over anybody. So imagine we had a case where someone was accused of murder. And imagine...
Couldn't give a fuck. This is law. We're talking about science. Don't give a shit about your stupid law slime.
So do you think...
Did you understand what I said? This is a debate about the nature of reality, not conventions in law. Did you hear me?
I did, yes.
Right, so we're talking about the nature of reality. Your law about what the world is absolutely inconsequential, Tom. So your expertise here is basically worthless when it comes to law, because I couldn't give a toss.
Well, I certainly won't argue that legal expertise are useless, but...
I will. I'll argue when it comes to the nature of reality that science rules and law is irrelevant. If it's relevant, I'll allow it, and it's not. Science rules when it comes to the nature of reality. It deals with the physical and natural world. That's what we're talking about, Tom. If you want to talk about law and how law affects the nature of reality, then you're going to be struggling to find a forum to do that on, because it doesn't, Tom.
Yeah, so actually...
So shut up about law then, Tom, and understand implicitly that you don't know what science is, and that's what we deal with here.
A pretty good impression. If we asked how OJ...
So we're not asking about OJ, we're asking about the nature of reality. Earth curve, black swan, we haven't got Earth curve. You think it's a geometric limitation. Like a ball, and when I said it isn't, you asked me about whether or not I had science for it. And I've shown you don't know what science is, Tom.
Is a murder something...
Is a murder anything to do with the nature of reality, black swan, or the horizon that we're arguing about? Or is it some segue onto something that you think you know about, and therefore think it's relevant in this discussion about the nature of reality? That would be governed by natural science.
And so if O.J. Simpson...
So no one gives a shit about O.J. Stop talking about O.J. Nobody cares.
That happened. In reality,
nobody cares.
Right? Are you being serious, man?
Are you being serious? Nobody cares about this. We're talking about the nature of reality. We're talking about the horizon. Your ball that you think is a geometric limitation that I've debunked with the black swan. That's a logical consistency that you challenge based on its lack of science. You don't know what science is, Tom, to challenge me on geometric limitations to Earth curve you thought were horizons taken from second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuums, Tom. You think we need to know about O.J. Simpson? You stupid man.
And
you stutter like a bitch when a flat earther tells you off. You are not in control of this conversation, retard. You're being told off for your ignorance in science by a flat earther, Tom. Understand what is happening here. You are being told off for your ignorance about science, which you know nothing of.
Worth it. This was so worth it.
What, being told off by a flat earther for your total ignorance about science while you try and segue onto fucking O.J. Simpson?
Are you familiar with cognitive behavioral therapy?
Sorry, Tom, the weasel who has attempted to segue away from his own ignorance pointed out by his opponent on no less than 19 occasions, thinks that somehow I need cognitive therapy while his weaselly, slimy actions get him shouted at for his ignorance in science. You think I need therapy for that, do you, Dumbo? No, I'll just sit here and tell you in front of a live audience how stupid you are, Tom. You don't know what science was. You didn't even know what a null was, did you, Tom? Yet you questioned whether or not I had scientific validity for a logical consistency argument, further demonstrating your ignorance in science. What's a null, Tom? You had to look it up. Yet you think you know what science is here, or can challenge me on the scientific validity of the black swan. You think you can challenge me on that, do you, for science? Wrong, Tom. You are the most ignorant person here, and we're not going to listen to you babble on about something you do know. That would be law. I'm sure you'd take me to task when it came to law, Tom, but that's not what's happening. You are being taken to task for your ignorance when it comes to science, Tom. That's what's actually happened.
Two things. I very clearly understand science better than you.
Do you fuck? You had to look up what a null was.
Yeah, because I was...
Yeah! So you're a lying piece of shit and you've just been proven so by me. You do not know what science is. You had to look up a null! You stupid retard!
I've also been trying...
You did not know what science is. You are, in fact, a liar. If you knew, as declared by your lying mouth, that you knew what it was, you wouldn't have had to look up a null. You lying piece of shit.
That's
You
absolutely...
have to look up everything.
Sorry, Tom, you're a lying piece of shit who just said you knew what science was. Wrong. You had to look up a null. You are a liar.
Yeah, that's a very weird thing to say. That's...
What, that somebody who declares they know what science was and then gets pointed out by their opponent that they had to look up what a null was actually is lying about knowing science and clearly doesn't, is just too embarrassed of his own ignorance and would rather lie about knowing what science is, because in a courtroom you only have to blag that you know what you're talking about, sound like you're intelligent, whereas here a flat earther will point out that not knowing what a null makes you a liar when you say you know what science is, Tom. You don't.
So I actually do corporate work.
Yeah, you don't do science work, Tom, because you're having your ass handed to you, currently by a flat earther who does know what science is. And when somebody who has to look up a null tells me they know what science is, the flat earther will tell them, with every ounce of disdain he can muster, that you are stupid, Tom.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, I know you're stupid, and I know you're a liar. Don't lie about knowing what science is here, Tom. It might work for you in a courtroom to lie about what you think you know. Here, we don't tolerate pretender clowns who lie about knowing what science is and then have to look up a null, because we just call them liars, Tom.
It'd be very similar to saying somebody doesn't know what law is if...
Sorry, we're not talking about law, you stupid idiot. Do you think segueing just by talking about what people in law talk about will get away from the fact that you don't know what science is? And saying, actually, I do know what science is, Mr. I have to look up what a null is, making me a clear liar. That's you, Tom, the liar.
No.
Liar. Liar.
Your premise...
Liar. You lied about knowing what science is and you don't, Tom. You've had to be corrected about it proving things.
If somebody can't define null off the top of their head, you're...
Then they don't know what the fuck science is. Yes, Tom, that's what I'm pointing out for my audience, that if you have to look up an integral part of hypothesis construction, then you definitely don't know what science is. That's right, Tom. And when you say you do, you're a liar, Tom. That's right, Tom.
You may know what science is and just...
I know what science is, Tom. You don't. You had to look up an integral part of it. That would be a null.
Because, as I said in my emails, I'm not formally trained in science. So...
No, you're fucking not kidding, but you just told me you knew what it was 30 seconds ago, making you a liar. You're not formal trained in it, but you're going to tell my audience that you know what it is when you clearly do not, making you a liar, Tom.
To be clear, I definitely understand it better than you based on what you're...
Oh, really? That sounds like an ad hominem attack. Oh, fascinating. In that case...
Here's the thing, is you can't even wait to hear what I'm saying.
I've heard what you've said, Tom. You said science doesn't prove things, Tom. Yeah, you told me that models were an integral part of science, Tom. You told me a lot of things, Tom. You also had to look up a null, an integral part of science. So you think you know more than science about science than I do, because you are arrogant, Tom. Self-indulged, Tom. Delusional and a liar, Tom.
Inductive and deductive reasoning.
You know more
about he's just chanting through me now. Just chanting straight through the top of every word I say so he doesn't have to listen to me, pointing out what a liar he is, right, Tom? Don't have to listen if you chant through it. Yeah, knowing an integral part of hypothesis construction, that would be the formulation of a null, would be something that someone who, quote, knows science would know. You didn't. You are a liar. There is no two ways about that, Tom.
And...
Do you want to tell me I don't know what science is again, you smug little twat? Do you want to tell me I don't know what science is again then, Tom?
And I think...
Sorry, do you want to tell me I don't know what science is again, Tom?
In this situation.
Do you want to ad hom me with you don't understand science again?
I'm not sure that's an ad hominem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it absolutely is an ad hominem. It's not an address to my argument about the black swan, the lack of geometric limitation, Earth curve, edge horizon, and the fact that you challenge that based on it not being science, something you don't know anything about. You don't know what a null is, an integral part of science. But yeah, every time I point that out, you seem to start talking through me, Tom, like some triggered fundy that doesn't like being told how wrong he is and how ignorant he is, and how he has to lie about what he knows. You said, and I quote, I know what science is, as he continues to chant through me, pointing out what a liar he is. You don't know science, Tom. Chanting through the top of me won't change what a massive liar you are. And that you've ad hom me by saying I don't know something I'm having to correct you on, as you continually chant through the top of me, so you don't have to listen to me, right, Tom? Just chanting through me, pointing out what a liar is, will mean you don't have to listen to it, right, Tom? Liar.
I wish I had
liar.
Did you have a point in coming here, Tom? What was your point?
His point was that I didn't have an argument with the Black Swan chocolate because it didn't have science, and my understanding of science was incorrect.
And as I was trying to
so
say,
you thought the Black Swan was science?
Yeah.
Hey, guy, you thought the Black Swan was science? Did somebody tell you that, or you just assumed that?
What I was going to say is when I brought up Black Swan, when I brought up Black Swan, I kept saying not the photo, not the photo. What I was trying to talk about was that phenomenon
the logical
where
consistency?
I think in Europe, everybody. Excuse me.
Carry on.
What I was saying was there was that phenomenon. I think it was in Western Europe where all of the swans were white, and so they just thought swans were white. And then eventually they found out that wasn't true, right? Because I think somewhere else in the world there was a black swan or something to that effect, right? It's a fun historical fact.
And
it's Karl Popper. Yeah, we know the Karl Popper analogy. Yes, thank you.
And so that was my example of why science is tentative, right? Now,
that's not fucking science. You are so retarded. That's not science, you stupid moron.
And to answer the fellow's
Sorry, you stupid clown.
To ask me why I came on the show.
You are a clown. Stop talking. That is not science. Science is very tentative. After giving a logical consistency argument from Karl Popper, that's not science, you stupid idiot.
Yeah, you just illustrate your ignorance, bud.
So what I was trying to say was, that was not the point of me coming on the show from my perspective. I was hoping to talk about the differences in approach and the, different models, various flat earth models.
Yeah, you were here to talk about what you thought you knew, and you started off by telling us a vague, wishy-washy understanding of your stupidity when it comes to science, and how things about science and phenomena were going to be talked about, Tom. Yeah, we very quickly established that while you interrupt me pointing this out for about the 22nd time, you don't have the slightest clue what science even is. You had to look up what a null was, an integral part of the empirical method. It has its empiricism, the thing you didn't think it had, from a null, something you had to look up. But yet you're still here telling us you know what science is and challenging us on our ethos.
Yes, I do know what science is, and
No, you fucking don't. Yeah, you arrogant prick. You haven't got a fucking clue what science is. You are stupid.
If anyone here would like to talk...
If anybody here would like to berate this fuckwit for not knowing what science is, take it away right now. I'm done. Feel free to berate this complete clown for his lack of understanding when it comes to science. Go.
We can chat.
He's confused abductive reasoning with deduction and induction. It's as simple as that. He doesn't know what science is, and he's failing.
Okay, so...
Tom, shut up! What you're now going to have is a string of flat earthers point out how fucking stupid you are. Sit there and listen to everyone else tell you how stupid you are. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I got 9 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. You can have 9 minutes of everyone on the panel telling you don't understand what science is. After your second time around, after 18 attempts having been proven how it proves things, that you don't understand what science is after looking up a null, you're still here declaring that you know what it is. Wrong. And you're going to be told by others now how wrong you are.
You stated that you had no formal training in science, but now you act as if you do.
And when asked for an example, Nathan gave you 2 examples. What's your story?
And then you want to point
I'm
out
wondering why he was under the impression the Black Swan was scientific.
Because you don't know what science is.
Then he goes to the analogy that about finding a black swan somewhere, that makes it science not being tentative.
No, that just shows you don't know what science is. Don't you understand? He's proven you don't know what science is.
Yeah, he just you definitely just showed all your cards. You have no bluffs.
Pure arrogance.
Nature about
total over-the-top arrogance. Thinks he knows better because he's got a discipline that he's experienced in law. Suddenly he thinks, well, I must know better than flat earthers, so I'll start talking about science. Something he hasn't got the slightest idea in. But he thinks because he's peppered it with a disclaimer, oh, that's not my professional field, so I'll waffle on about it like I know what I'm on about.
And then say he understands it better than you. If anybody
Yeah, what a cheek. Guy looks up a null after me asking him what a null is. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll look it up. Oh, but I know science better than you do. Oh, of course you do. Yeah. Keep chanting that shite, you arrogant twat.
Even better, he claims that you can't know things for... He claims you can't know things for certain, and then started making knowledge claims about us.
Hey, Tom.
Exactly.
Tom, you got that just pump the neighbor's cat look on your face yet, like I told you to have last night?
Yes. Quantum Eraser said I would have a certain look on my face.
Just pump the neighbor's cat look on your face. Did you reach that point yet? Sounds like you have.
So my inquiry was how he knows.
So your inquiry is horse shit. Your definition of hypothesis was incorrect. It's not a falsifiable explanation. Let's go through this. A hypothesis isn't a falsifiable explanation, you clown. It's not an explanation at all. It's a predictional supposition in the natural cause and effect relationships. Also, your appeal to induction. Science has nothing to do with induction. Karl Popper said it doesn't have nothing to do with induction, and his friggin' trophy proof was the black swan. All swans are white. You clown fuck. So, your little Google search science acumen's not gonna fly here, son. Pretender clown space monkey. What's a hypothesis? Yeah, you better run.
What's a hypothesis? A falsifiable explanation for a set of phenomena.
No, it's not. It's a predictional supposition in the natural cause and effect relationships. What are the two parts of a hypothesis?
What is the look somebody has on their face when they pump the neighbor's cat?
When we look at you right now.
The kind of look that somebody who doesn't know what the fuck to do would start babbling on about O.J. Simpson when they're asked about what science is.
Told you.
The one who would ask that question just now.
Yeah, that's what you do. So me, I did hi-fi as a career.
Because
So when being held up against the wall by a globe or on something I don't understand, if I start going, well, in hi-fi...
I've never seen somebody do that to a cat, and it sounds like you all have.
This guy's an idiot. He's annoying me.
Is that what you got now?
The problem is, following on with this conversation, Tom, to be brutally honest with you, Tom, the conversation's not a reasonable one. Because when you, the slimy lawyer, decides that he's going to talk straight through the middle of somebody who's already in the middle of a sentence, you're just going to talk straight through the middle of them when they're in the middle of a sentence, pointing out how unreasonable you are. That would be to say that when you're demonstrated incorrect, you'll laugh, tie the mic up, do those sorts of things. That's the just pump the neighbour's cat look when you chant through somebody who's concisely detailing how unreasonable it is. To make a declarative statement that you can't prove things with science, is open to interpretation, and then demonstrated by way of the law of non-contradiction violation that would be hypothesis construction if it didn't prove things, you still, after, I think it was 20 attempts, still declared that you knew what science was. Yeah, you don't. You're just like every other globe-believing idiot. Here to tell us how ignorant we are because you've got a specialist field you've got in law. But you know absolutely nothing about the nature of the world, and you only go by the vague understanding you've got from Googling things on the fly. It's pathetic, Tom. That's why we can't continue the conversation about Earth curve, because when it comes to you saying, well, this isn't really science that you're offering in the form of the black swan, and we're like, no, it's not claiming to be a systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis at all. It's a logical consistency argument, but you're asking me why it's not science. You know, that's never going to go anywhere because we're dealing with a thicko. Somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Somebody who's pretending to know what science is. So how are we going to appeal to somebody like that, Tom? We can't take the conversation further. You're too thick. You don't know what we're talking about when we say empiricism. You have to ask us what proof means. I mean, how thick are you if you have to ask me what proof means after you personally clarified it 2 minutes earlier? You're not a reasonable person to talk to. You're a slimy, scummy lawyer, Tom.
So that last part is definitely true. The part about being reasonable, I feel like it would help if in the first 35 minutes or so, you would have not interrupted me as much.
Fuck you, Tom. I will do as I damn well fucking please when you take 21 attempts to deny the fact that you haven't got a fucking clue about science.
I feel like you also had a rule about profanity in the...
Yeah, fuck you and the horse you rode in on, you stupid clown. You don't know what science is.
I had a horse. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, you laugh it up, stupid idiot. You don't know what science is, but you're here debating the nature of reality with me.
Well, Nathan, I have...
Do you want to talk about OJ again, shit for brains?
I would love to...
Yeah, stutter for me, bitch.
I let you know...
Yeah, stutter for me, bitch.
What's that?
Stutter for me, bitch. You and your OJ Simpson appealing ass haven't done very well here. And the reason you haven't done very well is because you appealed to things you had a vague understanding of, in this case, science. You don't know very much about it, but you're more than happy. Tell me I don't know what it is after having to look up an integral part of hypothesis construction that would be null. Proving to everybody who watches this show that you do not know what science is, yet even in spite of that, you're still telling us you do. Making you a twat. Well, an unreasonable twat, Tom, who can't concede when he's wrong, Tom.
You said stutter for me, bitch.
Yeah, that's right. Stutter for me, bitch.
You just have to take me to dinner first. I'll do anything you want.
Concede that you don't know what science is, then.
Have to take me to dinner first.
So concede you don't know what science is.
I'm not sure.
I'm stuttering like a bitch! No dinner required!
Speak?
Yeah, no dinner required, Tom.
But it looks like that's not going to happen, so I had a good time, everybody. Have a
good time not conceding a damn thing that you didn't know about? Why did you think that was a good time? It was pathetic, irritating. Spending 20 attempts to get somebody to concede something they were clearly wrong about was just you being an unreasonable prick. You being an unreasonable prick wasn't fun.
And if anyone's interested in...
Nobody's interested in anything other than you conceding what an unreasonable prick you haven't been.
In a bit more reasonable way than Nathan's capable of, just let me know.
Sorry, is it reasonable to take 22 attempts to concede that when something has an empirically built-in method to prove something, that it doesn't not prove things? You think 22 attempts is reasonable?
He left. He ran away.
So it's always the way that they project their completely and totally unreasonable nature on me because I've got frustrated with them after 20 or 21 attempts of getting him to concede that he doesn't know what science is. Now, the audience, most of them are familiar. I don't get very many new people here. So everyone watching knows what science is. They all know. So every one of them in the audience, unless they're thick or globe-believing, they'll say, yeah, science is empirical, it proves things. Having been given a demonstration verbally on the show of if A not B, or if A then B, you understand the law of non-contradiction that would have to be violated to not prove things after that process. Exactly as was explained to him. But even then, he thinks it's me being unreasonable for wanting him to concede his total ignorance. Oh yeah, that's totally unreasonable. Really, we should move forward with your vague understanding of science that's wrong, so you can hold me to task on your wrong understanding of it when we move further down the line in discussion. Because that's reasonable, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? No! The unreasonable, slimy prick lawyer has just projected his unreasonable nature straight onto me after 21 attempts at getting to concede something he didn't understand.
I thought it was pretty amazing how you took his affirming the consequent about the horizon with the tennis ball and placed it into the black swan modus tollens. That was cleverly done. Good job.
Oh, well, thank you. Nothing unreasonable in my behaviour getting irritated after multiple attempts to get somebody to concede something that everybody here knows is wrong. That's why I asked the panel to say, tell him how wrong he is. Because he's just decided to tell me personally, Nathan Oakley, you don't understand what science is when you're asking me for a null. Ooh, why would I look up a null? Obviously, I know everything about science, so why would I look it up? Because I know everything about science. You don't. The one leading me.
That was just one housekeeping question. Jeez, imagine the other one.
Yeah, it demonstrates the retarded nature of the audience who comment and say, where's your scientific evidence of flat Earth? That's not cause and effect relationship, you stupid clown. If it's not a cause and effect relationship, it's outside the purview of scientific inquiry. And that's exactly what's going on here. This guy doesn't understand what is inside or outside the purview of scientific inquiry. So he thinks that he can somehow sandwich in a Karl Popper example with the Black Swan to not being science. It's like, at base level, you really don't understand what this is. I do, you don't. That's not an ad hom.
He came in to teach you, Nathan.
They
That's
all
the
do.
problem, right from Jump Street.
They all do. And when they're being taught what they don't know, they can't quite believe their ears.
He didn't study long enough. There's no way that he watched this show long enough because his arguments were weak. Like, I mean, he may have watched the show a couple times, but he did not. He didn't do a good job. I wouldn't hire him to represent me in any case.
Oh, I'm sure he's a wonderful lawyer, and I couldn't care less either way, good or bad. Doesn't fuss me in the slightest, because it's irrelevant. You know, people with an expertise in something that are good at their job, well, so what? If you're a fantastic engineer, does that mean that you're going to come here and suddenly win a debate about the nature of world and the scientific method? Absolutely not.
Yeah, but if your job is to study and to know the meaning of words, and you can't even, like, come to any consensus about that, you know, if all you do is play in the words, then you're not doing your job very well, I wouldn't think.
Play on words? They've got their own bloody language. They've got legalese.
Yeah, but the legalese is actually, you know, defined pretty well. The language that we use to talk to each other is the one that's corruptible.
Maybe. And though it was, I'm not going to move past a non-concession, because if the fundamental parts of the argument about nature, the world, that is directly linked to science, and a non-understanding of science isn't going to be something that we can progress the argument with. So if anybody sits and goes, why did you spend 40 minutes insisting that he goes through the scientific method and his concession that he didn't understand it? Well, because if he doesn't, then we cannot progress the conversation. There's nowhere to go unless he concedes.
Sounds like my point from the beginning, and it started last week when I said for him to define what straight was versus curved, and now you're doing it with the scientific method, so it's pretty obvious.
Adam, did you want to get a word in before I ride out the live show and ask everyone to stay tuned if they're watching on an after show?
No, other than I understood what he was doing. I've been sat here at work listening, but I thought I assumed the show had finished, to be honest. But yeah, until it's clarified, he's just going to use that lack of agreement to try and flim-flam his. It was very odd. Keep pulling it back to a legal argument as if there's no difference. But yeah, reminded me of a year or two ago, that same argument. But I always think it's crucial. You can't move forward with the way he was wanting to on a false premise.
Exactly. It's a stumbling point based on the Socratic method. At some point, you've got to agree on the definition of what words means. In this case, science, experiment, hypothesis. That's what we're talking about. Or in his case, that's what he's not talking about. And until you can get the person to actually accept that, then you're going to carry on not talking about science and using the words of science like hypothesis. Well, that's not tolerable here. We know what those words mean. He definitely didn't, but is more than willing to ad hom me and tell me that I don't understand what science is. Right, whatever. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a Premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!